But yeah, why don't we go ahead and kick things off? I don't really have any big topics that have been requested or anything like that. So I was thinking that maybe we can jump into just a little popcorn style, see how each of you guys are doing. If anybody's kind of finding themselves scratching their heads with kind of any bigger sort of big business problems or questions, or just something that might be good to take advantage of the group, their feedback, that kind of stuff. Um, yeah, anybody have any stuff that's on the top of their mind that that you might want to throw out there?
I've got a long-term problem that's been a big debate for a long time is OEM compared to generic. I heard a second speaker back there. So that's a topic that you might be interested in. Original equipment manufacturer compared to generic parts. And I'll let the other talker go too.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I'll just pepper this a little bit with some things that I've heard, and maybe this can help stimulate the conversation. But I know that there's a gentleman out there that he uses. His name's Justin. Justin Gandy was talking about how he has this kind of list of non-OEM parts that are essentially interchangeable. And I know that there was recently, EJ Everett could speak more to this, but he's in a place where there aren't very many parts houses near him. So it's like this challenge of, um, you know, you can only get what you can get. Sometimes OEM's not going to be available. Correct me if I'm wrong. That kind of stuff, or maybe you don't have a parts house. So I don't know. Does anybody here have a stable of sort of more generic parts that they might use across different applications, or anybody have some thoughts?
I personally, this past, I guess this year, since January, and our part houses, we've got multiple part houses, but even them, due to the shortage on OEM and the delays, I'm probably installing 75% of our parts are aftermarket right now. And we make sure to advise our clientele like, hey, we can get the OEM, but with the whirlpool delays and all that, aftermarket is in abundance. We can get parts same day, pretty much no matter what. And we give our clients that option, and 99% of them are picking the aftermarket option.
What kind of parts are you using for like control boards, or just more the generic like igniters and
Yeah,
condenser fan motors?
Yeah, I haven't found many aftermarket control boards out there. Usually when it comes to that, we're going OEM, but anything mechanical, to our thermal fuses, pulleys, bearings, drum rollers, evap fans, aftermarket is the way to go right now.
Is that just something you traditionally have done, or just more because of the COVID scenario?
More so to make sure our customers are getting fixed up affordably and timely. We were running into a lot of trouble last year trying to stick to OEM, and we were having customers drawn out 3-4 months, and then we were getting a load of 300-400 parts in a couple days, and trying to keep up with that backlog was just proving detrimental to our clients and to us. So giving the option now, at least we're still getting our same day repairs and able to keep up with the workload.
So, for example, you mentioned a number of things there. Let's talk about ice makers and anything with a bearing. That could be a fan motor, that could be a drum roller, that could be an idler pulley. Actually, let's extend that to heaters as well. Let's name all of them if you want. Are you having the same quality out of the generic parts as you are the OEM in your anecdotal experience?
In all honesty, I'm not seeing any failure. The only thing I have seen some trouble with is the stats and limits, the things like the dryer limit stats. I'm not necessarily trusting them too much. Same with the thermistors on the Samsungs. I'm not trusting them. I've had a couple fail on me, but as far as the heaters, the drum rollers, even the ice makers, I haven't had a single problem with any of them yet. The stats seem to be the iffy one.
We have certainly seen a bunch of pictures on the Facebook pages of the drum rollers cooked after a couple weeks or a couple months, but that could be an installation issue, right? Don't know the details, but it seems like a pretty common picture I'm seeing on Facebook.
Well, there are a lot of different aftermarket manufacturers too, right? So there's probably bad ones and then there's better ones.
Agreed.
Now, do these aftermarket parts come with any kind of warranty from the aftermarket manufacturer, essentially?
Yeah, we still get the manufactured warranties. So say it's a subco part, they still have the same warranties that OEM does, and the parts supply house still honors the same warranties as well.
So slight difference. Our local supplier only offers 30 days compared to potentially a year for a lot of the parts. So that discounted price accompanies a discounted warranty. So that's cool that your supplier does that for you.
My supplier will do a lot of things if I threaten to go to another supplier.
Okay.
Yeah, and that Andrew's point kind of brings up something that I wanted to possibly explore, and that's like the possible implications on a company's warranty that they can offer their customers. So, Andrew, was I hearing you correctly that with your parts supplier getting some aftermarket parts, you're essentially getting less of a warranty?
Correct. So our warranty is always 90 days parts and labor. That's a flat out guarantee. That's from what I understand the industry standard, the way I tell my customers. Most manufacturers give you a full year on the part. Not all, but most manufacturers. With a generic part, they give you 30 days from the supplier. The supplier is the one that actually has to guarantee the part, not the generic manufacturer. I don't know of any generic manufacturers that actually guarantee their parts, to my understanding. So I don't know 100% how that works. He says that they're giving him a full manufacturer warranty, which means that, for example, a Bosch ice maker would then carry a full year warranty, or a Whirlpool ice maker would carry a full year warranty. I don't know of anybody doing that, so.
Well, like I may not have specified, I haven't had any of these aftermarket parts fail on me yet.
You haven't had to worry about it.
Yeah, and typically the way that we operate too with these subco parts, like say it's a drum roller that fails prematurely, I won't even go through the warranty process. I'll show up to the client's house, throw another one in off my truck and call it a day, right? For the $10 or $15 it cost me, throw it in and go.
That still cost you. That's more than $15, by the way. That's an entire call. That's money down the drain that you didn't make at another house.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm saying for the
wasted, and the lost money on revenue.
But if you're going in under warranty anyways, the only money you may be able to save is that $15. You're still wasting your time there doing the service.
God willing, I don't have failure. But nonetheless, that's good to know that you're not having a whole lot of failures. That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, no, they seem to be. They've gained my my trust. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think that this overall brings a good, a good thing for some businesses to think through if they're finding themselves faced with a situation where it may make sense for them to utilize the aftermarket parts, and to think things through all the way through to like past the completion of the job, and in the concept of like um, you know. Attaining and retaining lifetime customers. No, this is good. Anybody else here have any thoughts on, or want to chime in on this topic? Cool. So let's get some challenges. Like, anybody that's feeling comfortable to unmute themselves. What's something that what's a challenge that you're facing right now that you think might be helpful for us to kind of workshop this out with the group? So business is running great for everybody. There is nothing that needs improvement.
So a big topic at our company right now is continued education. I know that that's not a specific problem per appliance, but continued education is an ongoing issue. We're looking into Last Samurai, which seems to be pretty basic general. We're looking into the Marcoon stuff. And then there's one more that we're looking into. They all seem pretty expensive and very basic general knowledge. Does anybody have any better training material that you can get your hands on for brands like, example, GE? You have to be factory authorized for a lot of the GE stuff. Or LG, you have to be factory authorized for a lot of the LG stuff. Does anybody have anything that you can recommend for extended training material?
So what are you asking about furthering your basic knowledge and understanding of brands, or are you looking for specific training in brands?
Looking for tech sheets and that type of information.
Yeah, I mean, the Service Matters and Appliantology and MSA World doesn't have it. It's probably not, anywhere unless you're an authorized servicer. So those are the three that I go to, and they always have it most of the time. But you're talking about training, so that's the $1 million question, right? Like wouldn't it be great if the manufacturers provided some video webinar trainings of breakdown put together of their products? Would you pay for it if they offered it? If you weren't warranted?
We get a lot of support from the 40 different brands that we have, but the few brands that we don't have are the problem. You're actually a good question person, or a good person to answer. Do your technicians get value out of MSR or Appliantology or the other one you mentioned?
Yeah. Matter of fact, I wish my technicians would go to it before they call me, because I'll be driving and use my phone and type in Appliantology in the browser, and it'll log me in right away, and I'll put in the first 4 digits or letters. It's there a lot, man. It is Viking service, everything. So much is there for them. So, but I give all those logins to my guys. So Service Matter, Appliantology, MSA World, I'd say will cover you 90%. I should make them wait a while. Like, even though I might get it in 2 minutes, make them wait 25 minutes. Just put them on hold so that they'll go get it themselves next time. But that's my challenge.
I'm not trying to bogart the meeting, Alex. Thank you for that second question. So there's 3 more helpful hints. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem at all. No problem at all.
Just run from LG. That's my only advice.
Cool. All right. So things are a little quiet tonight, which is okay. This might be obvious for you guys, but I'm just gonna talk a little bit, and maybe it'll maybe it'll relate to somebody, be helpful. Maybe it'll but I've been thinking a lot about this concept of, like, don't forget the basics, or kind of going back to basics. I will, I work with a handful of businesses, and one of the things that I notice is that, like, these basics are sometimes overlooked or forgotten once people are getting so into the routine and whatnot. And yeah, it's just like, it's this concept of, and what I'm getting at is there's, I was having a conversation recently with somebody, and they were talking about how like their phone wasn't ringing. They're just like, oh man, my phone's not ringing. And I'm letting them know like, hey, everything that we're seeing in terms of the technology from our end is that your phone, the calls are being sent to your phone. And you know, let's zoom out a little bit. Let's kind of look at some of the basics that you might not think of. And it came up with, it's like, hey, um, let's look at your phone carrier. There might be an issue with the phone carrier. And we dove into this, and we figured out that there is a default blacklisted sort of series of numbers that the phone carrier has sort of installed on the phone plan, unbeknownst to us. And that was the reason why certain phone calls weren't coming in. So, you know, sometimes we're faced with a problem, and our mind tends to go towards the whys of that problem, tends to go towards where our fears are. It's just we're humans. That's how the human brain works. And sometimes we need to try to um, remove ourselves from our emotions and our fears and our suspicions and that kind of stuff. And just like look at the basics, try to look at things from an impartial eye. And when you take that kind of approach, you know, the solution is usually going to be something simple that was like right there in front of you. And I think that this can probably be applied to repairing appliances. You know, maybe you have this idea of, you know, the cause of a symptom in your mind. Maybe a lot of people online are like given their, oh, this is this is that, and you kind of forget to go through your basic diagnostic process. You know, Andrew in the past has gone through sort of step by step. Here are the fundamentals of diagnosing the problem. And when you take that approach with the fundamentals or the basics in mind, sometimes the solution is really right there. Um, I don't know. Anybody?
KISS method. My journeyman, when I started in HVAC, used to smack me in the back of the head every single time I got sidetracked. He'd always say, start with the basics. Where's the water come from and where does it need to go? Or where's the heat come from and where does it need to go? Start at the beginning and end at the end type of deal. And it's extremely true. I can't tell how many times I've got sidetracked with the simplest thing like a dryer not heating, and I'll rip the whole bloody thing apart and be like, oh, maybe I should check the breaker. You know, it's just simple shit like that. And I've been doing this a very long time and I still do it. You just kind of get caught up in the shit show of it all.
Stupid.
KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yep.
I've almost tried to train myself when I walk into a house and it's a 240-volt appliance. Just say, can you bring me to your breaker first? Because it would save me a lot of headache half the time.
I think establishing and pre-qualifying, you know, some sort of questions in communication with sorry, it's a long day, customer before you even touch the appliance really helps you in which direction you're going to head of what's wrong, but about how the customer feels about the appliance. Who wants to spend 40 minutes or 20 minutes figuring out an issue if you find out within the first 2 minutes that they bought it on eBay for 25 bucks or, you know, Craigslist, and they don't plan to spend more than 100? You know, for my technicians, that's what I'm trying to help them sort through. You know, our CSRs, when a customer calls in and says my dryer needs a timer, I had to teach my CSRs to re-ask the question, well, what's going on with the dryer? What's the symptom? But even still, sometimes the customer doesn't give a precise enough one. And believe it or not, I got some guys 5 years less of experience, and they're just digging into this machine based on a semi-vague complaint from the customer. So you think about it, when you go to the doctor's office to check your temperature, your blood pressure, you know, a few of these things, the doctor talks to you, and then based on the fact that strep throat's going around, they're going to decide to give you a strep test. But most of the pre-work is done with that preliminary questions. So that's what I'm trying to work on with my new techs. is to engage with the customer and get that information clearly stated from them before they tear it apart.
I think Doug hit a key note there. Keep it simple, stupid, and the basics. Customer might say, did they tell you what's wrong? Well, yeah, but I'd like to hear it from you. That's a pretty common thing that I say. And generally, you get more out of their mouth within the first 45 seconds on the path to their appliance than you did from the complaint on the, paper. So he's absolutely right. Ask questions. That's a good basics.
Yeah,
Great.
if you guys don't mind, I think this would be helpful. Let's talk a little bit about pre-screening. Thanks for bringing that up, Doug. I mean, he hit on a whole bunch of value that comes along with pre-screening, having your dispatcher, your secretary, office people, whatever it's called in your company. Um, who does, like, what does pre-screening look like for some of you guys? I'd love to hear what it looks like for each of you. All right, I'm just going to call people out. So, Mark, when somebody's calling your company, like, do you ask, I mean, how deep do you go? I know that there are some businesses that I interface with where it's it's very minimal. It's they say, hey, I have this problem, and then the person answering the phone will get the name, the phone number, the address, and then schedule it. Sometimes they don't even tell them the service call fee. Don't even set those expectations, which we can talk about how that can be a recipe for disaster. But yeah, Mark, like, are you on the more minimal side, or what do you?
No, most of my customers I call back myself. So when I call them, I can, say, if they say the dryer's taking forever to dry, I'll ask them how long the vent is, ask them to check the vent flow outside. So I try to shake off what I know is not going to be a moneymaker, give them some helpful advice. And then if it's a doable call, sometimes I'll tell them, hey, a dryer not heating, you're probably looking at minimum of $120 repair, and it could be $350. So sometimes it's like giving them that warning shot where it's not going to get fixed for $40. So if they're willing to put money into their product, that's when you go run out there. But if like you said, if you bought a junk product, sometimes you almost shake them off the hook because you don't want to waste your time because everybody's busy right now.
Must be overbooked, Mark.
I'm sure he is, because he's letting the bait loose too.
Yeah, I'm probably shaking off 15 to 20 calls a week.
Yeah.
And
didn't you say that you only have like a 15-mile radius though?
I cover probably 8 miles. I live just neighborhood. Everybody around my area uses me, and I've shrunken it down over the time.
You're such a special example. You know that, right?
This is where longevity and covering your recalls, like you said, I forget who said, you have a roller that goes bad under warranty. You just go back, you make it right. I don't care if it costs you time or money. You make the customer happy. I don't look at it as a win-loss call for call. I look at it as a win-loss for customer. You treat that customer right, all of a sudden, all 4 houses around that customer are calling you.
But a customer that calls you back over failure is potentially a lost customer.
Not if you handle it correctly.
That's where your true character comes in. If you go there, make it right, lose a little, you're in good shape. You go there and try to say, oh, well, now it's something different. That customer gets a bad taste in their mouth. And then it turns into a, back and forth. If it's a true recall, then yes, it's a new, fresh call. But if it's something you put in, some of the Samsung parts, they are failing early. If they go bad early, I'll take care of it.
Let's shift gears a little bit, and we can come back to the pre-screening topic, as needed. But let's talk a little bit about lifetime value of a customer, the concept of creating a customer for life. I observe a lot within the appliance repair community, this more short-sighted perspective. It's a perspective that is much more focused on or limited to um, sometimes the shortest span of that perspective is just getting the service call. But ultimately, I see a lot of this perspective that's kind of fixed on just that one call that's in in the person's reality at that time. And something that I would encourage people to think through is the concept of the lifetime value of a customer. A lot of times we talk about what your average revenue per ticket is, goals and sort of metrics around a single repair, but kind of zoom that out a little bit to focus on the customer itself and the times that they come back for more service. And when you take that sort of perspective, I feel like it's going to force you to, because you're going to ask yourself, well, first question you're probably going to ask yourself is like, how do I keep them happy? How do I keep them as a lifetime customer? And then it's going to force you to think about what Mark was talking about, the concept of customer experience, bringing up these. You're going to have to think through and experience these scenarios where you might need to give a little, or make the decision on whether you're going to give a little in order to make that customer happy. It's going to cause you to run into these sort of crossroads situations where you need to figure out what is best for your business to, fire a customer, so to speak, or to, do whatever is necessary to keep them happy. I don't know if this is resonating for anybody, or anybody here think through things in that long-term view, or is this kind of new to you?
It's
I know
literally
Mark.
the
No,
it's
I've
literally
talked
the
about it
only
a lot. I've talked about repeat customers many, many times with this, particular outlet. And I think repeat customers are the only thing that you have going for you. You've got a long time before you retire. I need you to call me back. And that might mean giving a good price. That might mean giving a good customer experience. That might mean doing a good job the very first time that they ever lay eyes on you. There's That's your CSR too. I mean, there's too many things to suggest, but that good first experience is golden. That solves a long-term problem, because now I have a long-term customer. And one thing that I think burns you, which Mark has an answer for, but it's not an answer in my book, is, deal with the customer properly if there's a recall. And although that is an answer, it's not an answer for, in that example, a generic part. A generic part is still a generic part, which means that you could have potential recalls multiple times. So dealing with them on the first recall is fine, but dealing with them again and again and again because you installed a generic part is a disaster potentially. So it's kind of merging several things into one there, but yes. Sorry, go on, guys.
No, that's good. I do want to play not devil's advocate to what Andrew was saying, but to this kind of this concept out there that is touched on in this topic. And what I'm going to say is that the customer is not always right. And what I'm trying to say is, there's this saying, you guys have probably heard of it, the customer is always right. And to me, that
agreed, unless you can prove them wrong. And I'll go that route with the oven example, because many people think that their oven burns their food when actually it's the customer putting their food in prematurely. So until you prove them wrong is still an easy thing to suggest. I'm going to mute myself.
Really, what I'm getting at here is that if a business was going to make a decision that no matter what they do with every single customer, they're going to do whatever it takes to keep them happy. I have seen a lot of business owners that have made themselves stuck in their business. So concept would be there's this concept where when somebody's starting out, they're doing everything, they're using their cell phone. There are these old customers that have their cell phone number. And just recently I was reading somebody talking about on one of the groups where there's this one customer. He insists that he will only talk to the owner. He will only have the owner over. So it's this situation where the owner can't have his CSR, his secretary, deal with this one customer. Can't have his other techs deal with that one customer. So let's multiply that 10, 20, however many customers. May not be realistic, but still the point is that there's always needs to be a perspective of what is best for the business and what is best for this goal of having lifetime customers. There's going to be situations where it's going to make more sense to not do what's necessary to have that lifetime customer. But I'm talking probably one out of hundreds. So just, I would say don't blindly make your business's interests the second seat to having lifetime customers. But Andrew's talking about the first impression is really going to be the biggest thing that's going to...
I think more than anything, there's a middle ground. And you know that. There's a take care of people upright, and there's a take care of people long term. And both are important, and you can do both without sacrificing one or the other. So while taking care of a repeat customer with a new technician might be the right choice because that new technician has, a better attitude. Maybe the old technician, he's been there 30 times, but the new technician is more upbeat, more outgoing. So that kind of, settles a problem because while the old guy knew all of this stuff, the new guy can bullshit all this stuff. And I know that sounds stupid, but that's the way life works, right? I mean, he can report his way through a job compared to the old guy just knew his shit and he did the job. So there's some middle ground to long term, new term, or there's always a way around.
Some wise words. Wise words.
So there's things I learned last week reading the E-Myth about customer service and experience, and you guys touched on it to an extent about expectations. We talk a lot about the first impression and the customer experience, which is great, but Andrew started to touch on it there too. Once you set the bar with them on the first visit, you've made the expectation. If you've completely wowed them in the first meeting, and then you just go about like they're just a normal customer now on the second one, or the experience is just less than before, it kind of comes off that way. So in the E-Myth, they was talking about consistency, and that's what we've been talking about a little bit in the mastermind group, is setting up processes to have consistent customer service and consistent ways of doing things, because it kind of matters too. If you go in one way and then somebody else comes in the next way, like Andrew was saying, it just throws it all off. Another thought I had, I learned in leadership training when I was in management. People don't always remember what you do for them, but they always remember how you make them feel. So I've been really thinking about that in my customer service, because we do have to balance getting top dollar for what we bring to the table and giving them value, but also make them feel the value and feel appreciated. So it is a big package. That's just some thoughts. Yeah, I think EJ's right, hitting the nail on the head. Think about it. Customers that are 70, 60, 50 years old, they have an experience of appliances lasting 10, 20, 30, 50 years. But a lot of our customers are now in their 30s. early 40s, late 20s, their expectation is that many things in their life are disposable. So, big picture, we have to make sure that that value is being met with just the service charge. How many times does a 30-year-old person in their first condo call an appliance guy and it's not worth fixing and they have to pay a fee? Maybe by the second or third time, they make a decision that this industry is dead and I'll never fix any appliance. I'll just go buy a new one. So I think that we really have to make sure that whether we're fixing it or not, the customer senses that they need us for the next problem. And there's something else, EJ, you nailed on that I was going to bring up. But anyway, good stuff, EJ.
Thanks, Doug. I'd like to hear a little more about that thought you just said about on a diagnosis only, making them feel like they need us the next time. What you got an example of how you get that across?
Providing value on a diagnostic is something that we all talk about. Giving the tutorial on their dishwasher, giving how to clean their igniters on their gas stove.
Right.
What products to use for their cleaning for their washing machine, how to clean the condenser coil on their refrigerator, things that they can do on their own without calling us for a $100 fee. These are things you can do before you call me, and then call me if those don't work.
Yeah, I think so. But sometimes I feel like customers are anxious for us to talk about other things because right now the broken dishwasher is the top of their priority and they're kind of anxious. And so imagine you go in, you diagnose a dishwasher and you find out in 15 minutes or 10 minutes it's a bad control board. You look up the pricing and in another 5 minutes you say, well, it's going to be $389 to replace your control board. I can get the part out here in a couple of days. Holy cow, that's a lot of money. I can buy a new one for that. Okay. So you want to buy a new one? Sign here. It's a service call, whatever your service call is. And you leave. I don't think you've helped your customer. But to be there with them.
Sign here. There are benefits to replacing the new one, but I can offer you a warranty. I can suggest that this dishwasher is better than the new one that is being offered to you.
Yeah.
You have to explain without twisting an arm that there are benefits to the repair. It's another 5 minutes for sure.
I agree, but I also kind of remind my technicians as well is when a customer responds to whatever information you're giving them or reality, if you sort of say, yeah, but, and I'm not saying you're saying this, Andrew, yeah, but a new dishwasher isn't as good as the old one, or yeah, but this dishwasher, you might want to say, you might need to go with them on the ride. Okay, I hear what you're saying. Absolutely. What machine were you looking at? Did you see it online? Sure. Open up your tablet, look at it. See if it's a similar machine with the same amount of wash arms. Is it a GE that doesn't clean well? Whatever. Have those conversations and then say, are you going to install this yourself? Oh, no, I don't know. Okay, well, depending on where you buy from, that's $180 to $225 on top of the price of the dishwasher, plus my service fee. So really $389 is definitely cheaper than a new one, but let's go over if this still makes sense for you or not. Do you like the way it works? Do you like the way it loads? Do you like the way it operates? Yes or no? If they say no, I want my technicians not to sell the repair. And now we sell appliances, but we don't sell a ton of them. But I'd rather be a best friend, advocate, and advisor for my $129.95. And so even if we don't fix it for $129.95, we took the roller coaster ride of anxiety, stress, help them figure out what's the best thing for them in their situation, and then send them on their way. And to me, that's the customer experience where they still need us to help them discern buy new or fix it.
I like that thought there. I look at it as my fee $75, so I just say for $75
I'll be their knowledgeable friend for a few minutes and help them think through it. I do a similar discussion, probably not as clean as yours, but when they talk about replacing it, I do kind of walk them through sometimes. If it's one that, if it's a decision that is close, like if it's obvious that it's not worth fixing, but if it's a close call, like the halfway point is what I call it, I'll talk them through it. I'll say, how long have you had it? Do you like it? Are you just dying to get a new one? And then I do talk about the delivery and install. We offer pickup. I got a guy that scraps. Just offer some other reason for them to find us, get a hold of me for some kind of contact or information. I do like that, and I think where Andrew was going too. He talked about a couple weeks ago. Find something else you can do. Hey, you want me to look at something else real quick while I'm here? And that's the other direction. Find something you can do to give them some value. I like to say, well, what else can I do to get your money's worth? What
there's something about having an authentic approach. If going into a house and it doesn't seem like it's going to make sense to fix it, and you're a salesman and you're going to try to sell a filter or a cleaning coil or maintenance on the dryer cleaning to upsell, I feel like customers can feel it. But if you authentically are going in there and you recognize that they potentially aren't going to be ecstatic that they're paying a service fee, they're not blaming you, but then they now have to go buy a new appliance and pay the fee. And you're saying, hey, you know what? While I'm here, I mean, that went pretty quick. Is there anything else I can do to help you out? Anything you want me to look at? And I feel like if your heart is in it to give them the biggest bang for the buck, they'll read that in you and they'll be honest with you and maybe let you look at some stuff. But I know I hate salesmen. I hate getting to the register. I hate when they pull out the service contract. I hate when they want to sell me the extra filter. I get so aggravated. So I'm sensitive to it. But if your authentic purpose is to make sure they go, wow, that was an amazing experience, then I think they'll open up and let you look at other things.
I often call it the hard part. The hard part's out of the way. Is there anything else I could do while I'm here? And normally they kind of giggle about it, but they have a question or something. And I say, often I then extend myself to do that service. It might be the dishwasher or the condenser coil, whatever it might be. But just, to extend Doug's statement, EJ's statement, the hard part's out of the way. What else can I do? Do you have a mop?
Nice.
Can I clean your windows? And I joke with them, but I do often clean dishwasher filters for free or condenser coils for free. Anyway, Alex, sorry, go ahead.
No, I wanted to try to relate to some higher level concepts that I'm hearing across all of these things that you guys are saying, which is some really great things. One of the things I'm hearing here, it's kind of like a cousin of the, you have the saying under promise and over deliver. And I would say that is something I'm hearing here, whether it is the expectations that are being set when they're scheduling the call. The expectation is that you're going to come out and you're going to look at their broken appliance and see if you can fix it. And all of these things that you guys are talking about doing to add more value, to be...
Sorry, break, Alex. The customer's expectation is they're going to come out and fix the appliance. And that might be for a service call of said $50, just by the way. Go ahead.
That I would argue that really depends on your pre-screening and your call scheduling process and script, because, and then we can get into, are they listening to what your dispatcher is saying? But there are plenty of pre-screening and sort of dispatch scripts which clearly let them know the cost of the service call, what to expect with the service call, and then what to expect. And part of that is getting a quote for the repair. But either way, and Andrew, to your point, there are a lot of people that answer the phones and schedule in a way that definitely is setting that expectation. But let's just run with the expectation is that you're coming out to diagnose the problem. And then when you're bringing in all of these extra things, you're over delivering and letting them know about the maintenance, preventative maintenance that Andrew was talking about, so that next time if something happens, this can delay the amount of time until they have to see you again. Whether this is Doug's talking about helping them through that decision-making process of to buy or to repair. All of these that I've been hearing from you guys are examples of over delivering on those expectations that were originally set, depending on if you guys actively set them or it was assumptions from the customer. And then also in all of these things that I've been hearing, these are examples where you guys are talking about providing more value to the customer than the kind of value than what they are putting out, so to speak. They're paying for a service call. They're getting a service call. They're getting consultation on, they're getting, additional sort of add-on tips, all that kind of stuff. And then the last sort of concept I wanted to throw out there is, and this really came out in what Doug was saying, and I think that this approach to sales is the best approach to sales. If when you're being that salesperson, if you are operating in a way that is trying to help the customer with what is best for them, I want to say hands down every time you're going to ride that wave and you're going to benefit. Sometimes what is best for the customer is not what is best for your profit and loss statements, in the sense of getting more repairs for that month, that kind of thing. Or so that's something that really stood out when Doug was going through that scenario of helping them determine whether to buy or to repair. That example is one where really, if you're trying to help your customer make the decision that is in their best interest, as long as your business is positioned the right way, you are going to, you're going to benefit as a result of whatever that customer decides on. All right, I'm going to step off my soapbox. I don't know if that sparks any thoughts in you guys, or anybody has anything else you want to throw out there.
The only thing that I really heard was extra value. So we have a second appliance fee, and frequently I tell people, only call in one appliance, and questions are free after that. I have to charge you a service call because it's on paper, and honestly, it's like 50% whether or not I charge an appliance second appliance fee for the second appliance. I'll take the heat from the boss. I don't care. But the point is that I give them value. Don't call into appliances if it's, just questions like that. So, break.
Yeah. I think
what were you saying, Alex? You were saying under selling and over delivering. What were you saying, Alex? What was your term?
Under promise, over deliver.
Yeah, the saying is
under promise, over deliver.
Set the bar low and jump over it every time.
Or not only like that,
I get that, but that's not a strategy though. Are you suggesting whatever level of great communication that you set up for each customer over the phone that you?
No, it is a strategy, because think of how many Whirlpool parts are on back order that you can't tell them when they're going to be there. They'll be there as soon as possible. I can't tell you exactly when, but as soon as they are, I'll be there.
Right, and I'll tell you right now, at this point, every time it happens that my technician sells a job and orders a part, and he doesn't check availability because he can check it within 15 seconds across the country, I'm about ready to just begin to remove their 1% bonus every week, because that is so easy to fix, and it's an expectation that I don't think is unreasonable. You know,
Well, one step beyond that is, hey, I see this part in stock, but shipping has been wonky because COVID has set everything back a little bit.
sure.
Given that we see it, we'll get here as soon as possible. But, you know, what if that one part in Evansville, Indiana is no longer available when your parts guy actually orders it?
Oh, and I teach my technicians, when you're looking availability across the country in all the branches, when it says one, assume it's an accounting error. It might be there, but let's assume it's not. And we'll tell our customer that, you know, no stock anywhere, but there's one in Albany. You know what that means? And a lot of customers know right away. It's what EJ was saying that I couldn't remember my second point. It's broken promises. You know, yeah, sure, we can, this is how much it is, we can order it, and we'll call you when the part arrives. And then they get a phone call. This used to be impressive 15 years ago. We would tell the customer, if there's any problem with like a back order, our parts department will let you know before the business day ends. And they'd go, thank you. Now, my technician doesn't check availability, especially Whirlpool, and we let them know the same day, and they're mad. Oh, you got my money? You were just trying to suck us into the job, and now we got to wait 2 weeks. So people have changed a lot, you know, and so I feel like broken promises are a big deal, and that's why underselling. I feel like our script kind of covers it pretty. I don't know where I'm going with this. I feel like our phone script really hits it on every level what of expectation should be, and I feel like those expectations are set high, you know, and my technicians don't always hit it, which means it's our fault. So I guess that's why I'm getting stuck on your statement. Not that you're wrong, Alex. I know what you're talking about,
Yeah.
but I feel like sometimes my technicians it's the other way around right now, that we're falling short.
Yeah, and I mean, some examples, when I'm using the phrase under promise and over deliver, you know, one example is if you might be quoting somebody a price range, and let's just say hypothetically that price range is $100 to $200. I think that an example would be, you know, hey, the price could be up to $200. That's an example of where, you know, if it's under $200, you're kind of over delivering. That's, you know.
Yeah, I get it. So don't promise the world, because
Mhm.
you're going to set yourself up for failure. So be careful and cautious about what you promise, because
Yeah,
you want to exceed what your expectations are set out for. So yeah, I get it now. I'm sorry I was so slow. It's 9 o'clock here. So
and another example is Andrew was talking about some of these sort of these tips on preventative maintenance. So when the call is booked, the promise is that you're going to come out and perform a service call. I mean, when on the phone, are you really going to say, "Hey, we're going to perform a service call, and then we're also going to run you through our, you know, our preventative maintenance, you know, speech?" No. So that's one of those things that it's just a little bit more than they're expecting, or a little bit better than where the expectations were set.
yeah, gotcha.
I think that is, yeah, I think that's a good thing for people to kind of put in their head when they're kind of going through that sales or customer service dynamic.
Some of that is an individual technician selling himself as much as it is selling the company too. So, I mean, I do. I have a long time before I retire. I need customers for a long time. So I need to know, I need to let them know that I care about what I do. Therefore, I will, you know, try hard to make sure that their experience is the best they can be. And sometimes it's not an experience. Sometimes it's just a repair. Sometimes it's, you know, a better price than replacement value. Sometimes it's explaining that their repair is exceeding replacement value, so they should buy a new one. You know, it's the honesty that matters.
Yeah.
And Andrew, you work for somebody, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm a technician for a company.
All right. So are you ready to come move to Connecticut? Work for us? Because you're treated like it's your own business. You're talking like, I need to retire. I need this company to be successful. I need the customers around my house to want Andrew out. I mean, that's a really great thing in an employee. So that's very
The
impressive.
dream employee.
Yep,
You're making me blush. You're making me blush.
If you worked at Action, I'd give you whatever you want until I feel like you're exploiting me.
Yeah.
Andrew is what we'll call in the kind of the business world an intrapreneur. You know, if Andrew is setting out to start his own thing, he's an entrepreneur. But like having those elements, those qualities, and that perspective that he's talking about,
Absolutely.
while within a company, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, and
Yep.
it's definitely qualities that are right at the top of the bar when it comes to characteristics of an employee. Let's go ahead and wrap things up. I think that next week it might be good to talk about pre-screening. We talked a little bit about it, but would there be some interest in that conversation from you guys?
It's
I like
a broad
the
term, Andrew.
entrepreneurial concept.
What's that now?
Do what?
It's a broad. That's a broad term, pre-screening. Are you talking about a calling script, or are you talking about pre-screening the call before the tech goes out to have what they have on their truck? So, just
I think that we can narrow it down or tackle both. I think they're both valuable.
So, one thing I want to say, I tried to hit this a couple weeks ago, but I think it was misinterpreted. But they go together, right? Now, somebody said, I think it was Mark, that he calls all of his customers himself. But one thing we've been talking about is a script for the CSR taking the call, not for them to diagnose the problem for you, but a script of questions to ask. No more than 3 per issue. I mean, we don't want to wear them out with a whole survey, but get a little bit of information. And, for each different issue, a spot where they would look down to this line, and here's a couple questions to ask, kind of like a flow chart. And what that would do is in turn help your pre-diagnosing, your pre-screening, to pregame and get your parts and everything ready, get your mentality ready to go to that call. Because, like we've said, the dryer's not turning. Okay, what does that mean? Does the motor run? Does it try to do anything? Does it make a noise? Just a couple questions like that. So I think, as it is a broad topic, there's little pinpoints that we can do, but I think it starts with the phone call, the first call.
Yeah. Bo, I don't know, were you gonna?
Yeah, I was gonna, and this is just an idea I've been kind of floating around for a little bit, is aside from the pre-screening, I've been floating the idea of follow-ups. I haven't thought too much about it, but I'm thinking it might be some way to separate my company from my competitors. 2 days or whatever it may be, 48 hours after any repair is completed, a quick phone call saying, hey, is everything working okay? Just wanted to call and see. I know no competitors near me do it. It wouldn't take up much resources, so I just wanted to, maybe we could bring that into the conversation on the next meeting too, and see.
Not a phone call, an email. You need to do that by email. Phone call takes up too much time. An email is where it's at.
I think Doug's doing that, ain't you? Something like that, Doug?
We do an email, but I'll tell you what, it was pretty cool when the owner's aunt would call and just answer 3-4 questions. It was very personable. I still wish we did it that way, but the email is the way we do it now. So I like your idea, Bo. That's really cool.
We're an extremely personable company, and people enjoy dealing with our office staff. So I think, even if you're calling back 10 people a day, that's going to take you maybe half an hour.
Yeah,
so
you'll be leaving messages nowadays, right? But still, the message with the someone who cares. That's a really cool thing, Bill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so if we could touch base on that next week, I would definitely enjoy that. I think get
Yeah.
some other people's perspective.
No,
I think
definitely. No, I'm taking some notes, and we'll definitely do that. Any other sort of topic requests or interests from people for us to make sure we cover moving forward?
I just had a question about the whole, like the last thing that Bo had brought up and email and all that stuff. So our company, when we switched, we did robocalling for everything. And I absolutely hate the idea of it. They were robocalling to schedule a part return. So the only interaction the customer had really gotten is when they called in to set up the service call. Everything after that is just complete robodial. They send them a text message when they're on the way. If they have to, it's just, I don't like it. I don't like it because it's not personal.
Yeah. No, this is at the
Yeah.
top of my list.
Then we go to the poor kid.
Let's
Gents, I
definitely
gotta run. Thanks,
start
Alex.
See
Thanks,
ya.
everyone. See ya.
They got from under the bed.
Let's definitely start next week's call. We'll start it with the discussion on follow-ups and kind of look at things from both sides, from the business efficiency side to the human personal touch sort of side, customer experience. And then I have a few sort of sub notes around the pre-screening topic. So yeah, this was good, guys. Thank you. A little bit of a slow start this week, but I think that like a snowball rolling downhill, we really got some momentum going. And as always, you guys bring the value. So thank you for doing it. I'll be back here same time next week.
Have a good night, Dr.
You
Alex.
guys bring the value. Talk more. Anybody that's willing to talk is gonna provide more.
Yeah.
Yep, these calls, the benefit of these calls really are defined by those who participate. So, and I understand some people are looking to just listen, and that's fine. But listen long enough, you'll be in a position where you have something to contribute. Cool. You guys have a nice night. Catch you same time, same day next week.